hold on to your seats, because today's news brings a budget bombshell that has all of Westminster talking. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer's government is under fire with accusations of dishonesty, a potential job-killing tax hike, and a shocking redefinition of working people. Get ready as we break down the major revelations, outrageous accusations, and what it all means for you. And remember, hit that like button, subscribe, and tap the notification bell to stay up to date with the latest twists and turns in British politics. Outrage is erupting across the UK over Prime Minister Keir Starmer's recent comments defining working people. During the Commonwealth Leaders' Summit, Starmer claimed that working people are those who earn their living through monthly wages and don't have the luxury of writing a cheque to escape financial difficulties. This seemingly straightforward definition excludes anyone earning additional income from assets like shares, property, or even savings, a move that's already sparking anger from those feeling overlooked and misrepresented by the Labour government. Former Middlesbrough Mayor Andy Preston minced no words in his response, calling Starmer's definition shambolic. He explained, "This government needs to clarify what they actually mean. If they don't address this, they're in serious trouble." For Preston, Starmer's lack of clarity is feeding confusion and frustration among voters, especially as Labour's long-promised no tax increases on working people pledge is now feeling misleading to millions across the country. But that's only one of many explosive revelations. Chancellor Rachel Reeves is expected to announce a significant budget next week, with leaks suggesting that employers' national insurance contributions, NIC, could be hiked by nearly 2%. For business owners across the UK, this news is nothing short of alarming. The CBI, the UK's largest business group, has urgently warned the government of the potential fallout, arguing that the increase in employers' levies will affect growth plans and potentially stifle job creation, wage increases, and more. Firms have told us that increasing employers' levies will impact their growth plans and, as a result, impact hiring and pay, said Andy Scott, the CBI's head of tax policy. Even Labour's own shadow Chancellor Jeremy Hunt has warned of serious consequences, noting that the NIC hike could lead to a jobs tax that ultimately burdens the very working people Labour claims to support. Labour's latest moves have also led to a wave of criticism for seemingly backtracking on campaign promises. During Labour's campaign, Starmer repeatedly promised not to increase taxes on working people. However, his recent comments have cast doubt on exactly who qualifies as working people. According to Starmer, those deriving income from property, investments, or other assets may not fall under this category, leading to concerns that millions of middle-income Britons could be subjected to new tax hikes. Shadow Energy Secretary Claire Coutinho weighed in on the controversy, saying, "Keir Starmer went into an election saying he'd protect working people, only to redefine that group to suit his new tax plans. Labour's entire campaign is built on broken promises." There's mounting speculation that the Labour government may indeed be attempting to stretch its campaign commitments to fit budget demands, and the ensuing backlash is proving fierce. Former Mayor Andy Preston didn't hold back, slamming Labour's lack of transparency. Preston argues that if Labour had been clear about the temporary pain they'd inflict to balance the budget, public backlash would likely be far more manageable. He explained, if Labour had warned Britons early on that they'd be introducing higher taxes but said it was for a greater long-term gain, their popularity wouldn't be falling off a cliff. According to Preston, Labour's mishandling of the issue is creating needless anxiety among voters and adding fuel to the fire of an already heated political landscape. When asked if all Britons would face consequences of Labour's budget, Preston didn't hesitate to respond, predicting that everyone would feel the pinch. "There's no doubt that we're all going to have to be a little bit poorer," he stated. "You can get away with making tough decisions if you're clear and transparent. Instead, Labour's communication strategy is turning more people against them." Labour's uncertain stance and shifting definitions have left people unsure about what to expect next, and Preston believes that unless the party gets serious about transparency, they're setting themselves up for long-term damage. The pending tax increase is already stirring concern among small business owners and private sector employees, particularly those in sectors still recovering from previous economic challenges. For companies operating on thin margins, the NIC hike may mean fewer hires, and in some cases, potential layoffs. Business leaders fear that increased tax burdens on employers could discourage growth and make it challenging for businesses to pay competitive wages, which would hurt the workforce as well as the broader economy. One local business owner voiced his apprehensions, saying, "We want to grow and hire more people, but this looming tax hike is making us think twice. We're committed to our staff, but at some point, enough is enough." Amid mounting criticism, Labour's handling of the controversy has led to widespread backlash. Britons across social media have expressed their anger and frustration over the government's unwillingness to provide clear answers on who will be impacted by the upcoming tax changes. With Starmer's narrow definition of working people, excluding many of those who rely on savings and investments, it's unclear who will be spared from tax hikes. One Twitter user captured the general sentiment, posting, "Labour claims to protect working people, but only if you meet their bizarre, narrow definition. What about the rest of us?" Voters are increasingly feeling as though Labour is implementing a two-tier system, one in which only specific workers are exempted from new taxes, while everyone else shoulders the burden. As Starmer's budget nears, Britons are left to wonder what the looming changes will mean for their financial future. If Labour's budget proceeds as expected, those working in the private sector and owning small businesses may feel the sting of reduced hiring and potential layoffs as companies struggle to absorb new tax costs. Small business advocates warn that further tax burdens on employers could hurt local economies, particularly in sectors that don't have the resources to offset these additional costs. Political analysts say that if Starmer's government doesn't come up with a plan that minimises impact on these businesses, the consequences could be devastating for the UK's job market. The financial uncertainty extends to those who rely on investment income. Many Britons, especially those nearing retirement or supplementing their income with savings, could be affected if Labour pursues additional tax hikes on income from assets. Some experts believe this may lead to reduced savings and tougher financial planning for future generations. Critics argue that Labour's inconsistent communication has left ordinary Britons in the dark about the budget's true impact, creating a climate of fear and suspicion. With all eyes on Starmer's government, this budget will serve as a critical test of Labour's commitment to their campaign promises. Can Labour navigate the tricky line between generating revenue and staying true to their pledge not to tax working people? The British public is anxiously waiting to see whether Labour can balance its budget goals with protecting Britain's financial interests. But the growing frustration and anger suggest Labour has its work cut out for them. So, what's your take on all of this? Will Labour's budget be the lifeline Britain needs, or are we heading for more economic turmoil? Hit that like button, subscribe, and don't forget to ring the bell to stay up to date with this ever-evolving crisis. As Budget Day approaches, we'll be right here, bringing you every new twist and turn and keeping you informed on how these headlines impact your life. Stay tuned, you won't want to miss